Right, apparently I'm live. I need to check. I'm on my own today, so I don't have my little sidekick, okay, Rose, with me to check what I'm doing that right. So you're gonna all have to just rely on me for a second. I am going to change screens for a second because I need to be able to see everybody on with questions and stuff on YouTube. So welcome everybody. We've got somebody on. I'm going to put this up here. Sorry, I'm staring at my computer because I'm trying to figure something out. I have another presentation for you today. Hey. And I think I've done a better job than last time where I don't have to faff around. I'm going to share my screen. So that should work really well. What I'm going to do now is just wait for maybe a couple more people to jump on. Who have I got? Are you gonna say hello? He's watching us today. So we have hopefully some lovely people from across the little pond gonna visit us this evening, and hopefully some more people from the UK and anywhere else. Just have a little map going. Anyway, I'm trying to make up some waffle to spend some time. So today I wanted to talk about the 5D journey tool bag for triggers. And it's an amazing thing to be able to learn a couple of techniques and be able to flip your pain to gain or end any discomfort you're experiencing because you've been triggered, or you've been, what would it be in, you've been upset, something's upset you, and you want to be able to deal with it because, let's face it doesn't feel very nice being in that upset mood, frame of mind, whatever. It's traumatic. We don't need to be there for any longer than it takes for us to recognize that we're unhappy. So what can that be? A second? 5 seconds? That's how quick it can become once you've got used to using these tools and fixing up the problem really, really fast. You can do this really quickly. So what I wanted to do today was flip the screen and go through basically the 5D Journey website, because it's kind of got all the tools on there. I'm sure I can put more on there. It's a little bit of a work in progress and being updated all the time, but we have all the big tools on there. And I wanted to run this through with you today because it will probably just be a much nicer presentation for you. So let me see if I can. I'm going to enlarge my screen. Bear with me, I've never done this before. Should have done this before I got on. Okay, now I'm going to share my screen. And yes, I'm going to go to that one. And I'm going to go to, where are we? That's not convenient because you're right in the way. Bear with me. Get rid of that one. Aha, okay, we're good. Right, so we're going to go on to, there we go. I'm getting good, people. Right, so let's see if I can flip this somewhere else. Let's not stop video, that won't be helpful. Let's see if I can get this out of the way or down. Now I'm going to have to keep flipping backwards to share my chat so I can see comments. Oh, you can see me in there. That's cute. So shame I can't see at the moment. Let me see if I can show chat. Sorry, people. Right. So anyway, this is 5D Journey website. Okay. So you'll go on here and it's, as you can see, 5djourney.org. We have a welcome page. It's a lovely beach scene. And we are supporting your 5D Ascension journey, which is exactly what we are trying to do. And we've got a bit of an intro. So basically we talk about how quickly you can get out of pain, which is what I've just mentioned. And if anybody is sort of among the more spiritual of you, let me put it back there for a second. Have a little read if you like. You might have had the Ascension, the change from the 3rd dimension to the 5th dimension, also called a heaven and earth perspective. And this work is how you do it, because you can't access the 5th dimension or a heaven and earth perspective while you have any sort of fear or negative emotion about you. Because basically, the 5th dimension, from my understanding, is a perspective. It is where everything is incredible, everything's amazing, everything is wonderful, everything serves everything. And it's, as I said, a heaven and earth perspective. Now, you can't go into heaven and earth. You can't be in this paradigm if you are stressed or fearful or have issues that you haven't dealt with that are causing you negative emotion. Just doesn't go hand in hand. So for you to be able to access this perspective and experience this heaven on earth reality, which is very, very real, because I've felt it quite a few times now. As I've been doing this work, I have had the benefit of dipping a toe in, shall we say. And this is just the start, so who knows what's going to come. But this, essentially what we're doing is having the most incredible experience we can have. But you need to be able to get rid of the emotional baggage. And that is far easier and far quicker and far less painful than you might imagine if you've never heard me talk about our stuff before, or it's the first time you've come across this video, this live stream. This is actually a surprisingly quick and easy and painless experience. Like, if you compare it to going to therapy, way quicker. I mean, like, I do breakthrough sessions in half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, first time, because I follow a little process called the, as well as the tools that I'm going to show you today, but it's also utilizing the higher self embodiment tool or unblocking tool. And basically what this means is you are super you. You are supercharged, super good, super healed. You're super you, the best version of you can imagine. And that is you. That is your daily experience. Now, initially you might sort of think, oh, well, what if I'm in that good place and what if people around me aren't? No problem, because you can help take them there. You can be an example for them. You can share the tools. You can even share the website with them. It's all free. Don't charge for anything. This is our gift to humanity. So, and it's a very powerful gift. I had a beautiful comment by somebody on the video where I was recording the higher self embodiment or higher self unblocking tool. And that person said, if psychiatrists shared this information, they'd all be out of business. That was the best comment ever. I love it. It was fantastic. And you know what? I agree with them. It absolutely is. So I'm just going to pop over to see if I can go into the YouTube screen to see if there are any comments and questions. Oh, let's turn that down because we've got a little bit of a thingy. All right, so not at the moment. Hey, right. So where are we? Right, okay, so we want to get rid of our emotions. I'm going to try and do this quickly today because I can feel my little throat starting to kind of few leggies around. So I'm going to try not to talk too much, which is hard for me because I've got the gift of the gab anyway. So when you take on this work, or when you sit down to think about starting this work, two things might happen to you. So, and I'm not psychic. This is just, we know our stuff, okay? So the first thing is you're going to find anything to distract you from doing this work. You might sort of take a little peek. Yeah, you might get a bit curious and then you go, oh, there's far too much text on that page. Oh, I'll come back to it later. Or, oh, words, I don't know. I don't know what this means. Oh, what's the fifth dimension? Oh, see you later. And off you trot until you get triggered again, which might be tomorrow. It might be in 10 minutes time. And something might kind of go, this is going to keep happening until you find these tools, and it might not be these tools, it could be any tools, because the soul is like, you're in a good place, you can get rid of this, I'm going to throw it up for you. And the ego will try to distract you. It will try to sideline you. It will try to convince you this is not worth doing, it's not worth the time, it's too much effort. And the reason for this, in my opinion, is because this can't be a happy accident. This can't be something you do half-hearted, without much thought or care. This is a very conscious process, which doesn't mean you have to go into your pain any more than asking yourself one question about it. Okay, so you don't have to relive it or revisit it or go and see how you felt about it or anything like that. Actually, we have processes that are simpler and easier and far less painful. But the most painful part is starting it, is sitting down and going, okay, I'm going to do it, because you know what, I've tried to fix this, or I thought I fixed this before, I thought this had gone away, I thought I'd done the healing, and it keeps coming back, or there's still residue there, or there's other things coming up, or I can never seem to make any progress with this healing malarkey. And I feel like this is just the ego pushing you to find a better tool, but pushing you to say this ain't resolved yet. And it's pushing you to make conscious change. So it's a bit like, you physically have to find that key on that key ring that opens the door. There's a nice warm place with a nice cup of tea or coffee or water, whatever you want to drink inside, and you're tired, you're fed up, you're uncomfortable, you just want to get through the door. Just being a bit of perseverance is all it takes. Right, okay, I'm going to, hey love, hey Hemsky. Okay, so here's back to our website quickly, so you can have some live info on us, some posts on us, some emotional healing, and our Telegram channel. These are just quick access links. We have a very cute little video here. I'm not going to play it now, but it's really worth a watch. It's lovely. It's very inspiring. And we have a bit of a scenario for you. So this is kind of what it looks like at the moment. You've either got a black dark room, but there's a window and there's a beautiful view out there. But we need to maybe go to the window and have a little look around and, see if it's worth doing the work to enjoy that scene a little bit more permanently. So when you go to our website, you can go to the About page. Oh, that's just a little bit about us, actually. So I am going to skip through to the emotional healing page, because this is where the goodies are. This is where the tools are, right? Now, the introduction. This basically is, this work we call the inner work, shadow work, ego work, spiritual work, healing, therapy, whatever you want to call it. But essentially, we are crossing the bridge from 3D to 5D. So 3D is the matrix, 3D is hardship and, ups and downs and, that's life and whatever life is. And anyway, and then 5D is, like I said, the heaven and earth perspective. So little introduction. And we kind of just want to sum it up in 4 steps. This is really all it takes. So number 1, you're going to learn a little bit of info. You have to know the rules of the game before you can win. We're going to have a little look at your situation, but not like you might expect. We're going to basically be saying things like, do you like yourself? Do you love yourself? Do you respect yourself? Do you feel worthy? Do you trust yourself? Things like that. Because every one of our problems has a fundamental root belief. And that core belief is what is holding the whole problem together. The core belief goes, the problem goes. Okay, so this is one of our ways in. So once we've analysed the situation, we will then use our interventions and our rapid healing techniques, and that will deal with the issue. And the next thing is we manifest. We manifest a new experience. Now, this is so important, so profound. You realise that it's not about just putting up with what you've got. Absolutely not. And it's not even about grafting to get your way out of it either. It's easier than that. It's manifesting, which is basically thoughts become things. And if they're positive thoughts, and if you can shape those thoughts and you know the techniques to manifest quickly, you can change any situation. Any situation. Whenever I think about this, I always try and put my thoughts into the worst possible situation I could ever imagine, which is pretty bad. And there, it even holds up in those scenarios, although I will take this time to say, this is in no way belittling what people have had to go through at all. Okay, so next, after you've manifested, you await the test. Or should I say tests? Because as soon as universal law dictates, as soon as you declare yourself to be something, the opposite comes into your space to prove that you are what you've just declared yourself to be. So if you say, all right, I'm going to be really strong from now on, something's going to come along and poke the bear in the cage and test, are you going to be strong? It's going to give you a situation where you need to be strong in, or strong about, or strong for, whatever. And most of the time we don't see it coming. So this is the first big tip. See the situations that come into your life as tests, because straight away it puts us in the most powerful position to deal with them. It makes us go, aha, hang on a minute. I know what's going on here. I'm pretty sure I can predict the outcome of this, and I know what I need to do. And eventually things start to happen in your life and you're like, that doesn't bother me, doesn't bother me, doesn't bother me. Used to, doesn't now. And you realize how far you've come. You realize how much you've grown. You realize how much baggage you've successfully put down. All right, so let's just make sure we're all good with the comments. Please ask questions. If you say that doesn't make any sense, please say that, because it will help me know what I need to say more clearly. Okay. So I love a question, me. Right. So we then go through to the process. Okay. So we're talking about the ego trying to distract you again or overwhelm you. And this is just so you can really own this healing work. You really know you have done what it takes. It wasn't just something that happened subconsciously. And the reason for this is later on when I explain a little bit about the higher self embodiment or the unblocking of the higher self, this conscious connection is so important for subconscious change. I'm talking about things that will make you feel like you've had personality transplants. They're that powerful, that successful, and work that quickly. I mean, you work slower than this will. You'll catch on slower than the results to start changing, if that makes sense. I'll clarify that in a minute. But anyway, so we need to basically set the scene, because you need to be able to know the rules of the game. And when you know the rules of the game, you know how to win at the game. And that's effectively what we're doing. We're just giving you some rules and regulations of the game, and you can go and win. So there is a little bit of blurb you can read over. And then the first thing to do is take what we call is the flat tire test. So I am going to go on to that. Hopefully it will work. Hold on. Self-tests. They can be found under the interventions page of this self-test. So we've got, so I'm just going to switch my phone off because it's buzzing and it shouldn't be. There you go. Right. How much do you operate from ego? Because when I first started finding out about the ego, I used to think it was just vanity. And it's so much more. It's so much more than that. You lucky people. It's basically any behavior that's not in balance. That's the shortest answer I can give you, and the most comprehensive. So what do I mean by that? For example, right, let's take confidence and fear. So if confidence is the balance, fear would be at one end of the spectrum and arrogance would be at the other end of the spectrum. So the balance is confidence. A little bit of one, a little bit of the other, balances out. So we have this really, this little diagram I created. And the way you do this is you can get a piece of paper, you can quickly draw the circles, draw the heart in the middle, and then you can just go around and for the first, in the immature ego, for this yellow zone, you can basically tick or put a dot in the ring that you are, that relates to how much you feel this emotion. So do you get embarrassed a lot? A little bit. I'm going to put it in zone 1. Okay, if you're like, yeah, I'm embarrassed every day, like at work, if someone asks me to do something, or I just don't have any confidence, right? Put it in zone 4. Sorry. Flip that round. If you feel it mildly, put it in zone 4. If you feel it to the extreme, put it in zone 1. We love a live for mistakes, hey. So then, needy. How needy do you feel? How much do you feel you need certain things to go a certain way for things to be okay? Could be with your partner, with your friends, with your family, with your work, with your anything, your finances. How much do you need things to go a certain way? Okay. Again, same thing with, do you offend easily? Do you do the victim work, the victim consciousness? Is it poor you a lot of the time? What about being intimidated or intimidating? Anyway, you can go all the way around this, and these are just a handful. There's many more. And then also you can have a look at the higher self characteristics as well, and you can do the same, see how you're doing. So obviously the more dots you've got in zone 1, maybe they're the ones you need to look at first. Zone 2, not so much. Zone 3, less so. 4 is mild. Okay, and you see I put a nice big heart in the middle, which means when you are balanced, you are heart-centered. You're operating from the heart. You are doing this because you're not in fear, and the opposite to love is fear. And in fact, when we're talking more of the spiritual terms, there is only love. And actually, the quickest way to solve all your problems and fix all your triggers up is realize that everything is set up for you to experience who you are as this magnificent super you, this magnificent being. And everybody's actually serving you, whether they realize it or not, or it looks that way or not. If you dig a little bit further, you'll really see that this is the case. And then you can drop the fear, you can drop all of the angst, and you just realize that actually there's a far more important, bigger picture thing going on. It's been going on the whole time, since the beginning of time. And actually now is the most exciting time to be alive, because we have this human ascension and this planetary ascension going on, where our whole experience of life is going to get catapulted, is going to quantum leap into the most incredible experience we've ever had in the history of humanity. Sounds pretty good, right? Anyway, let's go back to this, because I don't want to take any longer than I need to. Your time is valuable, and I really appreciate you being here. So, flat tire test. This is cool. This is basically you draw these lines like spokes on a wheel, you number them, and oh look, number 5's dropped off. And then you can go next to the numbers, and you'll go, right, number 1 is self-esteem. So if you don't have any self-esteem, you'll do the opposite. You'll put the mark in near the center, scale of 1 to 10. Okay, 0 is at the outside and 10 is at the inside. So if you're like, I have like no self-esteem, it's really low, so you would basically put it in the center of the circle. I hope I'm explaining this right. I'm probably completely contradicting myself. There's instructions on the side here. Basically, what will happen is you'll put all these markers around and you'll join them all up a bit like dot to dot. And if you have a lot of, let's say you have somebody who doesn't seem to have a lot of luck in anything, you're going to have a pretty deflated tire. So if you're going to join it all up, it's not going to look very full. If on the other side, you feel absolutely blessed in every area of your life, you're going to be putting your markers to the outside of that circle, joining them up. You're going to have a pretty inflated tire. And we all know cars like inflated tires if they're going to get anywhere. So that's that little test. And I always recommend people taking the biggest problem first, because when they get rid of that one, it makes the biggest impact. And it's just, yeah, why not? Let's dump the crap first, eh? Let's get rid of it. So our acid test: do you like yourself? Do you trust yourself? Do you respect yourself? Do you love yourself? Do you deserve? Or are you worthy? Same thing. You'll instinctively know if any of those hit the spot. And then here we have just a little chart basically going on your frequency. So if you are maybe very guilt-ridden and shameful, you'll be really on the very, very lowest sort of vibration. And don't be surprised if it incurs physical illness, disease, or conditions, because thoughts become things. And this is your body's way of saying, we need to fix up. We're not doing this right. We're sailing a little bit too close to the bone here, or too close to the wind, or I'm rubbish at expressions like that. I'll screw them all up, so do forgive me. Anyway, you get the gist of this one. You can do that. It's a nice little test. How to break through trauma quickly. Okay, so we're talking about finding the real problem. Now, there's a saying we have that the presenting problem is never the real problem, because again, you need to dig consciously for this. You need to uncover it, and actually you'll find a whole load of stuff out on the way that's linked. So that's really important, and you'll realize what the real problem is, because you'll start talking, and then all of a sudden you'll hit and you'll go, oh, okay, it's the linchpin, it's that core belief. But maybe it will start off by something else, like, I never seem to have enough time to do what I want to do. And then you might go, well, okay, and that's because maybe when you were little, you were always made to keep busy, because I don't know, it's hard to make up things on the spot. I don't want to do it like that. So if anyone wants to send me some real life situations that I can help transform on the live stream, that would be fantastic. Anyway, so we are going to, and we have interventions, we have ways of finding out what the real problems are, but just be aware that the presenting problem is hardly ever the real problem, but we're going to get to that soon. Okay, so we've just done a few of the little self-tests, so we've got a little bit more of an idea about what maybe we need to start off with. Okay, so we're going to go to the life's purpose. Let's go to life's purpose, because now it's time to learn about the rules of the game. Okay, so the best thing I can say, the quickest way I can say, is you are here to be happy and experience life and experience who you are. You need to learn who you are. You need to go through experiences to figure out who that is. And you have choice all the time. You can choose to be a nice person or not, essentially. And you will live with the results of those choices. Now, if you're understanding the rules of the game, as in you are here from a higher place, your energy has come in. We will learn this in science. It comes in through the birth door, will go out through the death door until we get to the fifth dimension, where death doesn't exist. That's another conversation. Anyway, so we come in, and we come into what we call a polarity reality, a physical experience, a physical place where we have things like hot and cold, left and right, up and down. And we only know one because we know the opposite. Essentially, there is only love. That is where we came from, this place, this paradigm, this realm where love and unconditional love, and I have personally felt this. I have felt, a fragment of this, but it was so powerful. I don't think I could have taken much more, to be frank. Had a very, very beautiful experience when I was about 18 years old. And I met a guy who said he could talk to God. And I was like, oh yeah, wait, where's the door? And I hadn't found God myself at that stage. Anyway, so we were chatting one day, and I actually went to him to learn how to be a healer, because I was told I was a healer, and I fancied the idea of that. So I found someone who gave me sort of lessons. And I standing in his cafe, that was after closed doors became a healing center, and I hadn't drank anything, I hadn't eaten anything, hadn't been there 5 minutes, and we were talking. He hadn't touched me, you know, yeah. And he basically just interrupted me. I was saying something, and he just interrupted and said, "God's just said he's going to give you a feeling you've never had before to show you how close he is." I was like, huh? And he carried on talking. I wasn't listening. I was going, "Feeling I've never had before. My hand's going to start to tingle or something." And I literally was looking for it like that. And as I was, the most intense, undescribably beautiful wave of love washed over me from the back. And I just started crying. I literally it was happy tears to the max. It was like, I'd just saved the world or something, or the world had just been saved, and the whole world was my family. I literally can't really put it into words. It was the most intense, beautiful, powerful experience. It was just happy and love rolled up into one, to the max, and then some, times 10, in fact. And it lasted about 5 seconds, and it was incredible. Oh, I'd like to know what else that was, if it wasn't the hand of God, whatever. Anyway, so it really does serve you to be open-minded to a higher intelligent energy if you're going to do this sort of work, because we can't explain everything, we don't understand everything, we can't replicate things. Okay, science has come a long way. How much interaction and how much helping hand it's had from off-world species, I think quite a lot. Because to be frank, we couldn't do this as humans. We couldn't if we didn't have any sort of channeling information or assistance from off planet tech species. We would not figure out a tenth of what we figured out. Just not gonna happen. Just so anyway, we'll still be cavemen. Anyway, the whole being open to a higher intelligent energy, that's all you have to do. Be open-minded and actually give it a go, because you've got nothing else to lose. And when you can hang this on that intelligent energy wanted to experience what it knew, it could only know. The realm it lived in was only a place of knowing, not a place of experiencing. So to experience what it was, it broke down into parts, came to a physical environment, or like a kind of playing field, you could say, or a school, or however you want to use it. And there was interaction, and there is one part of it experiences with another part of it and goes, "Oh, that's what you look like. Oh, okay, oh, that's what you look like," and take that to the maximum degree. And you're that's really where we are right now. And when you can realize that it's all basically a big simulation, illusion, I should say, delusion, you can use the tools that we were given as part of our God selves, if you want to use that word. I quite like that understanding, because it is creation. We are creative beings, and we use thought, word, and deed to create. So this is coming back to the manifesting stuff. So if you want to manifest your way out of a situation, you basically have to use a love frequency of gratitude, of thanking for what you want. Okay, if you go through the universal laws again, like attracts like is one of them. Okay, so what you think you create, karma, what you put out comes back, that sort of thing. Okay, so if you say, "Oh, I'm always frustrated, I'm always the one that gets the rough end, I'm always the one that gets the short straw," or "typical always happens to me," that sort of thing, you'll find that this happens over and over again, and it reinforces your belief because you put it out there as that. So the world's like, "I have to give you what you asked for. There you go, there you go, there you go, ouch, there you go, but you asked for it." So your manifesting is how it's a bit like your own personal miracle machine, if you ask me, because I've manifested everything in my life, and I'm blown away with, you know, how beautiful things are in my life, including my job. So, hey loves. Just saying hello to some friends on the messages. So it's lovely to have you here. So, right, I'm gonna crack on. So once you know the meaning of life, as it were, you're here to experience the uniqueness and the glory that is you. Okay, the beauty, the magnificence, the stunning light creation that is you, housed in this physical vessel that you've chosen, born into this life that you chose before you came here. So I say that life's a little bit like going to the cinema for the soul. Okay, so we're sitting there, we want a bit of an adventure, we go to the cinema, pick a film, go and watch it, enjoy the movie, whatever it's in. It could be a, you know, a thriller, a romantic comedy, a Disney film, whatever, you know. But should anything go wrong, or any dramatic things go wrong, we don't get out our phone and, you know, phone for the police or the ambulance or anything like that. We know it's a story, we're just enjoying the ride, and we go home again at the end of the day. This is exactly what the soul does. Okay, so the soul's not panicking. The soul knows where it's come from, it knows why it's here, it knows where it's going at the end. All it wants to do is grow in the experience, but it's doing that while you're here. So now you know what this whole thing called life kind of is essentially, and you know the tools, so thought, word and deed. Okay, these create. So when you say things like, don't think of a pink elephant, do not think of a pink elephant with bulging swimming trunks on. Think of a ridiculous thing. Okay, your brain cannot process a negative. So every time you use a negative term, can't, won't, shouldn't, your brain is actually processing the opposite. This has a lot to do with why we say it's the flip of things, but I don't want to confuse you too much. So if you want to manifest something, you have to say it in the positive. Thank you for me having a beautiful day tomorrow with the kids, or whatever it is. Thank you for everyone having a really great time. Thank you for it being beautiful weather, or thank you for just having fun no matter what the weather is, you know. Start small. Start with parking spaces, start with making the train, start with having a better day than you expect at work. So thank you for the meeting going really well, or being quite interesting, or ending early, or whatever. Start playing with this. And the amount of times when I've shared this information with somebody, I've had them phone me up literally within 2 hours and go, oh my God, it works. I'm like, yeah, it does. And they're like, I used it for this and this happened. I'm like, yeah. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful day when you realize that. So, you know, go try it out. Okay, so you know why you're here, you know who you are, you know the aim of the game. So now, why do bad things happen? The next natural question, right? Basically, because this whole situation is a stage for you to be the glory of you. You can't be glory unless you're in gory. Just made that up. I'm getting good. It's absolutely true. You can't know up until you know down. You can't know left till you know right, etc., etc., etc. You can't know what you are until you see what you are not. And plus, the soul wants to grow, right? It's going to put you through loads of experiences. Now, you only need to feel pain for as long as it takes for you to recognize, oh, don't like that. Let me change. Okay. Now, if I was to have somebody who was dealing with, let's say, an abusive situation, you have more choice than you realize. You can go and get help from someone. You can pick up the phone. You can get help somehow. If you can't, and again, the reason why I say this is because I try and think of the most extreme situations. You can will and manifest a different outcome. I don't want to go and focus too much into that right now, because this is where it really goes into the deeper side of things. Let's keep it to the common, you know, the common scenario for most of us. Okay. We've all had things that have made us feel good. We've all had things that have hurt us. We've all, you know, had people hurt us or things hurt us. What's actually going on is the ego side of us. So we have three parts. We have the ego, the subconscious mind. We have our mind, which I call the processing center. And then we have our higher self, or super you, or subconscious, conscious, and superconscious. And when all of these are flowing beautifully, and when all of them are in alignment, you literally burst through the whole lot and become your supraconscious, or that's when you can tap into your supraconscious or your God self. This is literally when you're flying high, when you are just loving life, loving everything, and you feel this incredible ecstasy, which is kind of the God frequency, you know. It's full of gratitude, it's full of love, it's just full of the most extreme happiness. That's the God frequency. And you can access it by doing this work. You absolutely can access it. So we've gone through the meaning of life, given the mind, body, and soul. You can't be strong if there's nothing to overcome. You can't be unconditional love without the conditions. Now, I have a saying called get the gift. Yeah, if you can get the gift, you flip pain to gain, you bring in the understanding where which gets rid of the pain, and you realize why you went through this crappy experience in the first place. Okay, so first of all, it will always be to do with your growth, your soul growth. Okay, so we've gone through this. Let's go to, let's make sure, healing wisdoms. Okay, let's go to healing wisdoms. I used to call these the key concepts. So if you ever see any of my videos or TikToks or anything like that, come on, hurry up. And you see me sort of talk about key concept, I'm actually talking about the healing wisdoms. I thought the healing wisdoms was a bit more descriptive of what they were. So we call them accepted truths to dissolve emotional trauma. These are so powerful that sometimes you can just reel these off and that pops the problem straight away. Other times we need to go into it a little bit more. So things like the most adaptable behavior wins. Mountain goat. Inside belief becomes outside truth. Creating your happiness is your job. Don't give that power away to anyone, ever. Mirror, mirror, life outside is showing you what's inside. Use it to heal. Should is a dangerous word. Linked with the need. Need kills love. And so on and so on. People are not their behaviors. So we've got a whole beautiful, colourful list here. And you can go down them. And they really are powerful. So the last one being, if you don't go within, you go without, which basically means if you don't look to do this sort of work, you're actually always going to have this pain there, or it might dissipate after a very long time. But essentially, you could be paying the price for your health, friendships, loved ones, trauma in the family. It's not really worth it. Not when you can have it all. So let's talk about, we know the name of the game now, we know the rules. Now we need to know the tools. Okay, so the healing wisdoms are one of them. Manifesting is another one, but first of all, you need to do the conscious processing. Now, this is where your mind kicks in, and this is where your mind is the deciding center. What do I like? What do I want next? And it's the one that says, okay, I'm going to do this now. Okay, it's like the action center. It's the crossroads. And think of the seesaw. It's in the middle. And on one side, you've got the subconscious ego. And on the other side, you've got the higher self. Okay. Now, the ego is a very interesting thing. It's basically our animal instinct. And it's this flight or fight survival technique. That's what it does. Its job is it tries to look after you. The snag is that most of its beliefs and behaviors are formed at the age of between 2 and 6 or 2 and 8. Not much wisdom there, and a whole lot of like me, and not much awareness and not much empathy and not much of anything apart from what makes me happy. I want this, I want that, I don't want this, I don't want that. Now, the beliefs that are formed at this age will stay with you until you change them. So that means you could have somebody who's 60 or 70 and they're still acting by decisions they made when they were 6. That is absolutely real. Doesn't sound too appealing though, does it, as an adult? So you might want to fix that up. And it's really easy to do. So we will start to look at our situation and break down how we can get into this and how we can fix this up. Okay. So we've done the self-test, right? So values and beliefs. The values and beliefs are, like I said before, our core belief is what is a linchpin to the problems. The ego, yeah, it has these core beliefs. Things like, I need to keep everything, away from others, otherwise they'll take it from me. Or, excuse me, I need to protect myself, or I can't let anyone in because I'll just get hurt. And we've all heard that one. If we haven't used it, we've all heard it. So when you start talking about your issue, now, some people, I really recommend either you find someone to talk to, or you record yourself talking as if you're talking to somebody else. Yeah. Because when you listen to yourself talking, you'll start to hear the issues of what's going on. You'll start to kind of reveal these core beliefs, these limiting beliefs, whatever is going on. And they're the ones that you hold on to and you explore. So the other way of doing it is using the process that unblocks the higher self, is the unwanted part. So what are the behaviors and the thoughts in you that are showing up that are unwanted? You can go straight to those and hear what they have to say. So what we do is we want to apply a love frequency, a wisdom frequency to all of these elements of us to heal ourselves, which essentially, if you have the seesaw, brings the seesaw end up into balance and everything can align. So you use the wisdom, the weight of wisdom, to bring up the density of the ego, and everything starts to align. So for example, it's like explaining to a 6-year-old why hitting other kids is no good, because they'll learn to hit you back and that's not very good. So why don't you be nice to them, and then they'll learn to be nice to you back, and then everyone's happy. That sort of thing in an adult, in an adult situation. Right. So when you can listen to yourself talk, you can often unravel a problem. You can unravel the whole thing. You can learn things about you never actually knew. You can make connections that you never connected before. It's incredible how giving yourself the time to talk or think is so valuable. And when you talk, it's more of a pathway. Thoughts can jump from one to the other so fast, it doesn't create like a pathway. But when you're talking to somebody, much more of a pathway is there, and you can retract along that pathway, as it were, to see what the issues were, or how it's come about, or what was the pivoting moment of change. And often if somebody has a problem, I'll say, when did that start? When did you start thinking like that? When did you start feeling like that? Or what happened just before? And they'll go straight to a time, and you'll realize that that was the time the problem started, because of a decision that was made. And when you can work on that decision, all of a sudden, and it'll be a decision the subconscious made, the ego made about something, because it didn't have the knowledge or it didn't have the understanding, and same thing. And it made an assumption or a presumption or a conclusion, and it's fixed itself like that. And until you, as your mind, knowing about your soul, knowing about your higher self, knowing about the rules of the game now, until you can apply wisdom to that 6-year-old ego, as it were, that is ruling your life. And believe me, it rules your life, because, have you ever really felt like crying or punching something, and then all of a sudden went, oh, hang on a minute, that's a bit inconvenient, you just put that to the side and I'll come back to it later? No. Because when you're upset, and it's really hard to get rid of it. And in fact, when somebody comes along and shows us love or sympathy, or listens to us, or is like, oh mate, that was rough, I feel you with that. When we have love given to us like that, it does make us feel a bit better, or a bit more understood, or a little bit more in connection with somebody, and it makes it easier to a degree. Now, the danger there is that you get stuck there. And the danger with some people is that they then use that for connection. So this is probably a good time to start talking about the ego trip, which is coming up soon. So values and beliefs are basically things that our core accepted truths, our core fundamental house built upon the foundations of these beliefs, right? We need to know what they are. So things like life is tough, it's work hard and maybe you get some rewards at the end of it. If you have those sorts of life values and beliefs, your world will reflect that. Your life will reflect those beliefs. Change them up, or things like I'll never be good enough. Excuse me. Things like that. They're dangerous. And you might all of a sudden start to see, well, actually, my life is mirroring the frequency of those thoughts. They're on a level, they're on a par. And this is often a massive breakthrough for people. So finding out the core beliefs and values are really important, right? Ego and emotions. Let's go. And I love this page. The ego and the soul. So the ego's language is thought, fearful thought, judgmental thought, controlling thought. And it presumes, it assumes, it concludes, it does all of these things. Okay. Now the soul is like, it's love, 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 it's love. And it pulls you. It gives you a yearning. It gives you a intuition. It gives you knowledge. But other than that, it's almost like it just lets you do, it lets you grow, it lets you go through these situations, because only when we can transmute the density that the ego gives us can we grow. Okay. And that's what the soul wants. The soul just lets us kind of get on with it, really. But it will intervene if you're really going on the wrong path. It does give you feedback. Okay. And it does that in the form of emotion. So think of it this way. The soul gives you traffic lights of emotions, gives you red ones that like, I wouldn't go there if I were you. Stop. This is the wrong way for your quickest route to happiness. And then you have yellow ones, which is like, oh, I'm not sure about this. This isn't going to give you maybe a bit of anxiety or a bit of unconfidence or a little bit of unease. This is not a healthy way to think. This is not going to really take you in the right direction. Or it gives you a nice, big, juicy, green joy, happiness, laughter, all of the beautiful emotions. And that's kind of saying, keep going, what you think is good, keep going in that direction. And between the two of them, the ego and the soul, it's hoped that you will balance these, the thoughts that are coming through, or that the behaviors that the ego is giving you, and you will use the soul and wisdom to nurture and heal and dissolve the immature and fearful thoughts. And the way the ego works is, if you're not listening to it, it will get louder and harder, because until you listen to it, that density cannot be transmuted. So it festers. It's like not having oxygen around decaying bacteria. It festers like a wound. And sometimes it can sort of lie down deep and fester deep, or it can erupt on the surface. You need to be able to look at that wound and clean it out and clear it out. And you can do so very, very easily. So how do we, take these thoughts a little bit further? So feelings are your truth, thoughts are not. We've talked about this. So the perspective position, where understanding exists, pain cannot. This is really how we fix things up. We give the ego a whole, because the ego is the only thing that can get triggered, they can get upset, the soul can't. So when you're upset, you're running an ego program, your ego is running riot here. And actually, this is a really good time to bring you through to the ego trip. But first of all, I'm just showing people where transcending the ego is on the website. So it's on the ego and emotions page, and you just scroll a bit down. It says transcending the ego. Number one, learn to recognize the ego's unwanted behavior in action and identify it. It's the part of you. It's the part of you that feels sad or frustrated or angry or stressed or tired or irritated or whatever. It's the unwanted behavior that is going on for you, okay? All right, let's just check out on the, great. So listen to what it has to say. You have to listen to be able to give it the wisdom to be able to dissolve it and transcend it. So listen to what it has to say. Sometimes it's saying, you know, check things before you go ahead, or find a better way, or find a better tool, or, you know, something along those lines. Apply the wisdom, and we have the key concept or the healing wisdoms for that. Change that. Now make the deal. So making the deal is basically saying, okay, ego, if you promise to stop procrastinating, if you promise to stop running this victim mentality, I will make sure that I take positive steps in the direction of blah. And you fill in whatever action will instantly make you feel better when you've discovered what the unwanted parts are, what the ego programming is. And you make a deal, and boom, you will, if you've got it right, which is very, very easy to do, you will notice that the changes happen so fast, it's shocking. This is just the chart that we've used for that. Okay, so you've got this horrible shadow overlaying the sun, or the, you know, the high self coming through. And this is what happens when you get rid of it or dissolve it. Pretty easy. This is quite new for us. We've had a 100% success rate with this. It's amazing to say that. It's been brilliant. Okay, so now we're going to go to interventions. Ego tripping. Okay, so when we feel like we're drowning, when we feel out of control in any way, the ego goes on a little trip. Nice of it. And it goes into this forever infinity loop here. Wee, woo, wee. Sometimes this will be really slow, and sometimes this will be really fast. And it carries on and carries on and carries on. Now, traditionally, the way we try and get out of this is we will try and change our biochemistry. So with food, drink, and drugs, or drugs, street or pharmaceutical, or change our environment. Go for a walk, go for a drive, go for a run, go down the pub, go to a friend's house. These will not fix the problem unless somehow you've thought of an option that you're going to act, you know, a positive option. But actually find out what all your options are. Straight away, this puts you in the power seat again, and it helps you decide what to do. Put the stupid ones down, the crazy ones, the funny ones, the weird ones, the obvious ones, combine them, whatever it takes. Okay, so for example, when you go to the angry extrovert side, this is always because of a lack of significance. Okay, the way that will fix it, what positive action can you take? Okay, the other side is lack of connection. You'll feel sad, you'll feel lonely, you'll feel depressed, you'll feel cut off, you know, you'll feel alone. And these are introvert negative emotions. Doesn't matter. But the beautiful thing is, if you are sad, depressed, lonely, look to how you can connect with anything. Something positive. Don't connect with yourself about the problem, because that is what depression is. Connect outside of yourself, try something new. And again, it's that little effort for change that we need to be empowered, or we need to find that energy to make that little bit of effort, and that will help you get back out on your feet. But that is, you know, I do acknowledge that can be very difficult, and that's why you use your manifestation, you know, make it easy for yourself. So this is just going through about, again, a little bit more about the ego trip, ending depression. Also, you can use your chakras if you've got a medical issue, ending depression with chakras. I've mentioned this before. Right, so back to the intervention list. So when we find we're in pain, or when we know we're being triggered, we can look to see, are we angry or are we sad? that is straight away a way to fix it and go, okay, I know there's a gift in here somewhere. We're going to get the gift. And the gift is basically, what's the silver lining? For what positive reason have you created this situation at the soul level? So you can ask yourself that now about anything you've been experiencing. All right, so 6 human needs. Now, the 6 human needs work in conjunction with the ego trip. Oh, excuse me. And I've just, so we have the 6 human needs are certainty, security or stability. Number 1, big one for the women. Variety, significance or importance, a big one for the guys. And love and connection. Okay, again, depression is caused when it's lacking. Now, these first 4 are the needs of the ego. Okay, the next 2 are the needs of the soul, which are growth, I've mentioned, and contribution to outside of yourself to another person. Okay, these are really easy to help you, really good tool to help you see what's really going on, what you need to do to fix it. Okay, because if you just spend yourself time going round and round in like, why do I feel like this? Why is the most pointless question you could ask? Okay, the answer is always the same: for your highest good. Why did that happen to you? For your highest good. Why they've treated me like that? For your highest good. Okay, and this is proof that what we're doing is on track, because we always flip the pain to gain by saying, what best part of myself could show up in response to that? That's it. That's the quickest way for you to get out of this trauma. And this just backs it up. These models just back it up, right? If it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. If we were too comfortable, we would never move. We would never grow. We need a little bit of pain to get us off our butts and grow, basically. Okay. Find out what your options are. Find out, do something to get yourself some connection. Find out something for you. Right, back to the interventions. So we've gone through the 6 human needs, the 6 negative emotions. So this is great. Excuse my sniffing. 6 negative emotions. Oh, can't read that. We'll have to change that color. Right. So basically, all negative emotions have one parent, and there's 6 of them. That makes sense. Are derivatives of these 6 negative emotions. They are anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, and shock. So a little true story. My little doggy there. This is where I live. And this is a true story where I threw my fear to the angels, and it absolutely changed my life. I threw it up like it was a massive boulder. Apologize if you've heard this story 1,000 times. And it absolutely changed my life. I gave fear away. I threw it. I put so much energy into getting rid of the fear, and it's worked beautifully. Angels can divinely neutralize it. If you're like, oh, I don't believe in angels, I don't believe in all that, you'd be surprised. How do you know they're not true? How do you know they don't exist? If you have an angel number, you can ask the angels what your number is, and you might find that you start seeing the same number everywhere. And a little communication for you. But anyway, look to the messages these emotions are bringing up. Okay, they are good little angel cloud for you there. That was on the same day. It was beautiful on that day. Anyway, sorry. False evidence appearing real. Fear. No one can hurt you, only the perception is real. We bring fear so much because emotional fear I'm talking about. We again assume, presume, and this is just again our ego kind of going, be careful, this might be dangerous, we need to protect ourselves. So all you need is love. Everyone is your angel. Really, really, really powerful. Everyone is your angel. Everybody is acting in your best interest, whether they know it or not, whether you've seen that before or not. But if you look, how is that person pushing me to realize I deserve more, or I need to flex, or I need to change, or I need to listen to what they're actually saying, even though on the face of it, it doesn't sound at all, it doesn't register or resonate. And again, when you see these negative emotions working in others, you're like, oh, don't feel significant, they don't feel listened to, they don't feel heard. Maybe I can just listen to what they have to say. So two people having an argument, couple, relationships, everything's amplified. If you don't listen to what the other person has to say, they end up shouting most of the time. You then shout back because you don't feel listened to. Da 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 da. Is actually sit there and listen to somebody. Next time you have an argument with somebody, just go, hang on, I just want to really listen to what you're saying and consider it and take it in and go, how would that feel if I felt that? Or, you know, you can use key concepts to help you see things from their perspective. They'll start to get less shouty, less angry because you're listening to them. So Prey is also what we call the ego trip. Right, let's go back to the intervention. Super You. Super You is an amazing one. It's we mentioned it before today, you know, Super You is the most amazing version of you, but you can actually talk to them. You can sit there and imagine what they look like, and you go, if you say, what does Super You say to me about this? Yeah, love it, keep going. Or, you know, they might be silent sometimes. They might be waiting for you to explore something. But generally speaking, if you have a problem that you've had pain over, they can really give you some incredible advice. The wisdom that comes out of people's mouths when I connect them with Super You is astonishing. It's beautiful. Check in with them every day. If you don't know what to do, look at what they're doing. Do what they would do. Eventually you'll become Super You. Nice little quick one there. Parts conflict. So parts conflict is ultimately, parts conflict is the brain and the heart, the head and the heart. Essentially, parts conflict are usually always between your head and your heart, even if it's like the part that's procrastinating and the part that wants to get something done. Okay. These parts actually always want the same highest good. They always want you to be happy or be at peace. Generally, is those two things, but they want to do it in completely opposite ways. And this is where they come to loggerheads, and you cannot make a decision, and you just feel stuck and stalled. So you need to look at what the unwanted part is doing and wanting and saying, because that's the one that's actually holding you back. When you can transform that, and this is the same, this is really exactly the same as the higher self-embodiment unblocking tool. But this is more of an exploration of these parts and what they want, and getting these parts to work together, and seeing how many parts are involved in this. So with me, my ongoing trigger is with me being the mum I want to be with my kids. I literally want to be perfect. I literally want to be these like soothing, healing, nurturing, never getting triggered, never getting worked up, never letting my tiredness or my stress or be passed on to my kids. You know, I've set myself up. My kids can be everyone's kids can be a bit challenging, but you know, I have a little girl with a will of iron, and she has a stronger will than me, and I also want to bring them up so that they're not spoiled. And so I have this whole kind of, you know, daily interaction thing with them, and I'm constantly judging myself. Was I do this? Was I do that? Did I do this right? Did I do that right? So there's a lot of parts in there, There's the impatient part, and the gentle part, and the nurturing part, and the wise part, and you know, there's a whole load of parts in there. It's a bit of a symphony, but you know, it's very, very interesting when you sort of start to look at this work. Just a little diagram on the parts for you there. And again, here is the steps. Make the deal, and you can test it. A little story, a real true story about parts and working and parts resolution. And then we have our little seesaw again. So we have another little script there for you. So parts conflict, negative emotion. What's beautiful is when you can take out the angry part and the sad part and the fearful part, and you take out all these parts and you say, you know, what's the learning? What do I need to learn to be able to let go of the anger here? What lessons does it have for me? What advice does it have for me? And then you can apply wisdom to it, because it will often be stuck in a dysfunctional thought, and you can apply wisdom to it. And you can say, you know, well, could we pair up with the trusting part or the researching part, so we know what we're doing before we go ahead, or stuff like that, you know? And you'll be again amazed at the powerful changes that can occur within you. All right, so let's go back to the intervention. Strategies. Strategies are very interesting. So strategies are programs, they're automatic behaviors that we run for everything we do, that are habits really. Now what's interesting is when we go into a stress point, we will run a program that we don't usually run when we are not stressed. So for example, I am a very reactionary person. I go with the flow a bit too much. You know, I'll go to get something from the bathroom and I'll see some thing on the floor and I'll pick that up instead. And I'll be like, oh my God, look at the skating board, needs dusting. Let's go and get a duster. And before I know it, I've forgotten the reason why I wanted to go upstairs in the first place. Or an hour later, I'll remember. So I'm very much that way. But when I go under stress, I go in the thinking, the other side of the spectrum. I go very much into the thinking, right, let's calm down and think about this, which is quite handy, actually. I quite like it. But again, it's maybe good to get a balance. So strategies are basically, that's an example. It's an automatic program that we run. When we get upset, we might find we go into the silent retreat. We just shut down. That's a strategy we run. We might ricochet. We might go from one extreme to the other, and we don't stop until we feel like we're more in control. We might go, I go into plan B mode. But right, that's not going to work. Right, what else do I do now? What do I need to do now? How do I get myself out of this? And actually it's like, whoa, there's nothing to get yourself out of, you know, calm yourself down, stop running away with these ideas that actually aren't even true. So realizing what strategy you run when you are upset is really useful, because you can catch yourself in the act. And then you can just explore it, just like the unwanted parts. And you can go, why do I do that? What's that core belief? You know, what is that behavior hinged on? And you can undo that core belief. You can really just have a look at it. And often it will, you know, a beautiful technique is the super you technique. You can also have the inner child. So you can go back to any stage of life. You can just ask, what age do I need to go back to? Excuse me. And you'll just see yourself as a 17-year-old or an 8-year-old or a 26-year-old or whatever. And you'll just go and say, right, now take me to the next time. What do I need to know there? What do I need to fix up there? What do I need to heal in that me of that age there before I can move on? You know, what does she need to hear? What does he need to be told? That sort of thing. We call it the inner child work. You can also do it the other way with, you know, I call it wiser, older, wiser you. So imagine you fast forward to you as an 80-year-old and you take the wisdom of them according to your situation now. They might be like, don't worry about it. It all works out for, you know, good in the end, or whatever it is. But it's a really powerful way of taking all these problems and just fixing them up. Right, I'm just going to have a quickly look at the comments, make sure there's no questions I've missed. Bless you. Right, okay, no, I think I'm good. All right, so strategies are really good to recognize. And how do we change strategies? By becoming conscious of them, by making deals with the parts that are involved. It's a really, really easy way of doing it. Right, disabling should. So we have, as one of our healing wisdoms, a line that says, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Disabling should. Basically, there's a saying we have, is should is a dangerous word. It's when you put conditions on something to make you happy, or someone to make you happy. You could be empowering other people without realizing it. You could be completely giving your power away. And this is very true if people have low self-esteem, lack of confidence, struggle talking. You've given your power away to make you happy to them. You're never going to make everyone happy, ever, all the time. It's not going to happen. It's not meant to happen like that. You are uniquely you. You'll have people that love you, people that are indifferent to you, and some people will even hate you. And actually, it's meant to be like that, because there are so many of us. There are so many ways and things that we're into, and we all have to find our own pathway. We all have to find our soul tribe, our family, our friends. You can't find these people if every one of these people, and you wouldn't have, enough of you to go round. So realize that, you know, you are perfect as you are. You just need to go along and see what sticks to you, you know, in a good way. And what doesn't, let it go and find what it wants to stick to, you know. And when you bring that power back into yourself, you find the fear can go, the lack of trust in yourself can go, because your ego is basically kind of saying, you've given it all away. We got none for ourselves. You know, take this into the other side. If you're trying to be good and kind and loving to everyone, great, but you've got to do it to yourself first, because if you aren't filled up, you will not be able to give the way you want to other people. Again, it's that balance thing, isn't it? Everything is about balance. And something on that is, I got the ping from the angels today to talk about, in fact, when you feel unworthy, flip that to unready. Maybe you're unready. Maybe you need to learn something else before you can proceed. So take that one, because that's going to be quite a nice, important one. Okay, so investigating illness. So this is when we look at maybe invisible illness or even real illnesses or conditions, and we take the literal meaning behind them. This is incredible. We will be doing a bigger project on this, especially for things like ME and anything sort of to do with hormonal dysfunction in the body. We are going to be doing a unique thing on that. So this video is getting too long, so I don't want to talk about that here today. So that's different. Right, okay, so basically going back to when you can hear the person, or when you can hear yourself talking about a problem, you should pick up now. I've said things that will hopefully make you prick your ears to what could be the causes. So are you in an ego trip? Are you triggered? It will be a ego programming. It will be an unwanted behavior. You need to heal it. You need to heal it for it to leave. That's pretty much smack on. You know, you can't hoodwink it. It will lie dormant. It's not going to go. You do need to fix it up, especially if you want the goodies that will come with healing, that sort of thing. Your shoulds, your assumptions, your presumptions, and the conditions you put on your happiness. Who are you giving your power away to? What conditions are you putting on your happiness? Massive. Looking at decisions you made when you were younger, looking at the healing and the wisdom or the love that needs to be felt by the inner you at any time of your life up until now is again massively transformative. So hopefully you've now got a much better understanding about the sorts of tools we use, how they can interact, and one can lead on to the other, and you know, one confirms the other. And do go onto the website, you know, do give it a little run through. The writing, hopefully, if you're interested in doing the work, it will be engaging. Ego is there to give you a little bit of a, yeah, no, I really do want to do this, you know. Ego, bugger off, get out of the way, I do want to do this. And you're putting in that energy input to get a happy ending energy output. I call it an equal energy exchange, actually. You know, we've all heard the saying, you get out what you put in, that kind of thing. It's just to make sure it's conscious, there's no happy accident, because you can then go on and heal somebody else with it. You know, you can refer a friend, you can pass it on, you can, you know, share something. Oh, I heard this actually worked really well for me, whatever. We have the Telegram channel, as hopefully lots of you know about, and you can always, you know, reach me on that and ask more questions. And, you know, hopefully this has been, I won't say quick, but it's been a good overview of the tools that we use and how easy they are to use and how actually painless they are to use. Just getting curious about the situation and listening to what your ego has to say, so you can heal it up, so you can literally nurture that dysfunction out of the 6-year-old, 8-year-old you that made those decisions. Maybe they were a bit older, but still they were immature parts that made those decisions, and now we need to bring maturity to them in loving wisdom to help heal them. do a little bit of strategy realigning, a little bit of strategy shaking up, looking at the limiting beliefs and the core beliefs and changing that up with a little bit of positive manifesting, and you're so on your way. It's amazing. You know, you don't need expensive therapy, you don't need to spend a long time doing this, but you know, do it once or twice, get good at it, practice, reach out for help if you need to. We have a community on Telegram, and yeah, let us know how you get on. So hopefully you've got something from this anyway. I'm just going to check in with the questions. Any last questions before I send you all on your lovely way? Lots going on at the moment. So just as another note, when we are going through it, we really are shedding density, and this is very much the way we work as cells of our planet. We have that density come up in us, we can transmute it, and we can you know, go back to being happy. When your perspective on your situation changes to be everything is serving you, everything is pushing you to your next highest self. How is it doing that? You know, what is it pushing you to realize? What is it pushing you to change? All of a sudden you see everything works in your favor, and I mean everything. And all of a sudden you're like, is it that easy? Yeah. Okay, or is it that simple? Yeah. And again, the most difficult thing is making time, looking at what's the issue, spending a little bit of time learning these tools. They're free, they're on the website there for you, 5djourney.org. Help yourself, get the tools, use them, enjoy them, and get a life you love. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I'll see you next time.